Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be covering, seeing as this is a college prep English course, today we're going to be covering what things you may be looking at needing for college applications. Before we hop into that, though, I do want to specify that feedback for your research essays should be back to you very soon, so you can get started on writing your final draft. If you have not submitted your rough draft to me, please do so as soon as possible. And let's go ahead and let's get started. So, what's needed for college applications? If you choose to go further in your education via a college path, which is just one path of several that you can choose, you will have to complete an application to those colleges that you want to attend. Sometimes multiple applications. If you are aiming for many colleges, you'll be completing an application for every college. Sometimes people only submit one application to one college, and both of those are perfectly fine options. These college applications will have multiple parts. They can have multiple parts. They most likely will have at least 3 out of the 5 that we're about to talk about. And you'll have to check in with your chosen college to see what's needed. Refer back to their list always. This is just a very general overview of what your college may ask you for. College applications generally include an application form, an online transcript from your high school. If you did dual enrollment, they'll want that too. Your test scores, so things like ACT, SAT. Letter of recommendation, usually 2. Sometimes colleges only want 1, sometimes colleges want more than 2. It really does depend on the college that you are wanting to attend. And also personal essays. Sometimes your college will give you a couple of little personal essays that you would be asked to do. So let's go ahead. These aren't the only things that are needed for college applications, but these are the most likely things you will need for your application. These 5 things are the most likely things that will be asked for whenever it comes to applying to an undergraduate program. You'll need to check in with your college to see what else you may need that may or may not be on this list. And contacting an admissions officer can help clarify this. Or an admissions advisor. Those can really help you to be able to figure out exactly how to present what you have to the college themselves. And also, this is just advice for what you may need. Like I said before, please be sure to talk with your admissions officers at your specific colleges you want to attend. These are the people who work to actually help people submit for colleges. These are the people who work to go through all these applications that are received, and they really do have some level of inside knowledge as to what things they're looking for, what things they aren't. How can you tailor your application to make your acceptance a little bit more likely? But let's go ahead and let's talk about the 5 things you may need for your application. The first thing is the application form itself. This is a form that will be specific to the college, except they do have a general one that's only accepted by 300 colleges. So they may have you do a more general form, but usually you'll be filling out the form specifically for that college. They all generally contain the same information, though. They'll include both basic information and more specific information. When you work on this form, you should know your basic information and have some level of access to more specific information about yourself. So your basic information will include things like name, address, date of birth, phone number, email, contact information. All these little things will be the basic information you will have to give on every form. Name being your full legal name, address being the current place you are residing at. So for me, it would be my home. Your date of birth, when you were born. Phone number, email, contact information. Most will ask you for an email and a phone number just so they have some way of contacting you if there's any trouble with your application, or if they just need to contact you in any sort of capacity. More specific information that they will include things like social security numbers, average GPA for high school and college, what schools you've previously attended, whether that be I was homeschooled, so I didn't attend any. I've attended a previous high school, but then became homeschooled. I was at a community college, dual enrolling, whatever your story is, they will ask you what schools you've previously attended, and they will ask you your GPA for those, most likely. Now, this is the first key piece for any college application. It gives the basic info your college will need to contact you and to understand a little bit more about you. Think about this almost as like the job application form for a college. College is literally just giving personal information of like, this is my name, yes, I'm a US citizen, that type of a thing. You will also need to check your college application if it requires more information than that. Some areas they may include and they may want more information about are things like your financial status for financial aid. This is things like, are you still under your parents' household? Are you a dependent of your parents still, or are you living on your own? Information about things like gender, race for statistics purposes. This is just so they get a better idea about the student body that's coming in. Information about your family and your family's past college attendance. This can really help open you up to some other scholarship opportunities if you are the first in your family to be attending a college. But they also just kind of like to, but this is mostly, again, for statistics purposes. They like to know where families are coming from. So whenever it comes to your official transcript from high school, this transcript will include things like the list of your high school classes and the grades that were received in those classes. If you attended a dual enrollment program, this is as easy as requesting an official sealed copy of your transcript from HCC, Hillsborough Community College, or St. Petersburg College, or PHCC, I think is what it's called. The third one. The third community college that's here that I feel bad because I always forget the name of that does dual enrollment. The purpose of the transcript, regardless, is just to make sure you've completed the requirements for high school graduation, or you're very close to completing the last of those requirements for high school graduation. So they want to make sure, okay, they've gone through all their math classes, they've gone through all of their English classes, they've gone through all the history classes, they've completed each part of these that needs to be completed before they graduate. This is something that every college will ask for alongside the application for, as to make sure you've completed the courses necessary to succeed and thrive in a college setting. Test scores. These are going to be things like your ACT, your SAT, your PERT score, potentially. Every college will have, generally it's going to be ACT or SAT. These are just standardized tests that most colleges will ask for. Every colleges will have their own minimum score needed for acceptance and may have requirements for what tests you have to take. So some colleges, they only accept the SAT, some colleges only accept the ACT, but most will have a minimum score that they look for you to get in. If you get a higher score than that, most will offer some form of a scholarship program on academic merit, so you may want to look into that. But if you're going to a college in which you can take either the ACT or the SAT, practice tests for both of these are available online for free and can help you better understand which test will work with your specific learning style or what rules will work better for you. If you're thinking about taking the ACT, don't be scared of the 60-minute math section. It's not as bad as some people say, and this is coming from somebody who struggles with math. This is the last portion that every college will ask for. They want to see your test scores because the ACT, and this is coming from somebody who's a psychology major, the ACT and SAT is meant to be predictive testing. Your ACT score and SAT score work in a way that they are predictive of where your first year college grades will be. They're not always accurate, but that is one reason why colleges want these types of scores. Let's go ahead and let's talk about things that involve writing now. Now, beyond just giving information. Letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are actually letters in which a person vouches for your character, and for the things that you have submitted, basically. They are a reference point for wherever college you're accepting to or whatever program you're trying to get into. And they talk about specific moments and experiences that person has had with you. This is somebody coming up and saying, and basically putting a hand on your metaphorical shoulder and saying, yes, I trust this person. This person is a hard worker. This person is a good person. This person has helped me out a lot. And here are some examples of when they've done this. This is a way for the college to effectively gauge your personality and your character. Now, you generally choose who you would like a letter of recommendation from, but they do have to accept writing said letter of recommendation. Your college may specify the type of person they would like to write this letter. So a previous teacher, a boss, someone in a higher position than, say, like a friend or a family member. And your college may specify what they would like the letter of recommendation to entail. So they may ask the person who is writing the letter of recommendation for a specific moment in their interactions with you that gave some form of character. Like, talk about an instance where they were hardworking. Talk about an instance where they experienced challenge. Something like that. This is like a personal essay, but it's a personal essay about you from someone else's perspective. And, of course, I have to say this. If somebody has accepted writing you a letter of recommendation and has written you one, you should be sure to write them at least a thank you letter for their time. They put time and effort into helping you move forward with your future, and it's very important that you give them the basic courtesy of saying, thank you for doing this, I appreciate it immensely, type of a deal. I'm not going to go too heavily into writing a letter of recommendation because it's not something that you'll have to write, right? It's more something that you have to decide, okay, who have I interacted with in the past who fulfills these criteria, who's generally in a higher position of power, or who is somebody who I know has a gauge of who I am as a person. Now, personal essays. This is something that you get to write about yourself. This is where you're able to provide a more personal view into your past experiences to those that are reviewing your application. This is where The general application will not get into this portion of your character, nor will your test scores, nor will other parts of your essay, of your application, get into this. The only other one that could potentially get into these types of personal views is the letters of recommendation, and that's coming from somebody else. This is where you're able to provide a view into your past experiences. What has shaped you? What drove you to this program? How did you get interested in being X major? What do you want to do with the career you're going into? Potentially, these are all areas you can cover. These are similar to narrative essays in which you will write about a specific experience you have had. So you're not going to write a general overview like a memoir, like this is my life for the past 18 years up until I've submitted this college application. This is what my life has been for the entirety of it. This is when I decided to do this, and talk about whenever you were 5 years old and you decided to be an astronaut. Like, this generally talks more about a specific experience that shaped you. Maybe you do write about your experience. Maybe you do write about your experience as a child going to NASA, going to like the NASA industry and seeing all of the different space things and that is the reason why you want to go into like astrophysics. Maybe you talk about a writing competition you entered in high school and you realized that this is a career that you'd like to go into. Maybe you volunteered with a zoo and realized that you would like to spend time working with animals and would like to have the knowledge to be able to do so. But you're trying to find that key moment. In that respect, you're trying to find that key moment that you would like to share to the people who will be reviewing your essays. Some colleges will give you prompts to write about. These prompts can include things like, what was a challenging moment in your life? How do you think going into this career will help you? Why did you become interested in this? How do you want to do this type of a deal? Colleges will also specify how long said essay will be. Some will be a word limit. Like, you have 500 words to convince me about a past experience you had. You have 500 words to catch me and to catch my attention on a previous experience you've had. Some will be a paragraph or two, whereas others will be 1 to 2 pages. It really does just depend on the college. But expect if a lot of people are applying for these personal essays to be shorter. If it's a program that is very competitive, expect these essays to be shorter because they just have so many to get through. If they are a less general program, expect the essays to be longer generally. But with that, one last thing. Oh, also, personal essays and letters of recommendation may be on a general college application, but usually letters of recommendation and personal essays are most of the time saved for the specific program you're wanting to go into. This is especially the case as you progress further into your college career. As you go forward into more programs, they will want you to have these letters of recommendation. They'll want you to have these essays, these personal essays. Some general college applications require them, but most of the time it will be more program-based that you will need these letters of recommendation or personal essays to get in. Last thing is, these are not the end-all be-all requirements with submitting a college application. Some colleges will require you to submit other things alongside these. beside these, you'll also want to pay attention to when deadlines are for applications. Your college's admissions page will have specific requirements for what they ask for. Some will only ask for this amount of information. Some will only ask for that amount of information. Some will ask for a bevy of information about you. It really does just depend on the program itself, what they will ask you for. Like, whenever I said that you want to pay attention to deadlines for applications, you want to pay attention to when certain applications are open and when they close. Most will not accept admissions if they go past the deadline. But some programs, and the ones you want to pay attention for, some programs have early admission. Some have early admission deadlines. And you want to pay attention to those early admission deadlines because they allow you a chance to submit your application early so that you can get a response back quicker by allowing them more time to go over your application. Also, don't feel bad if you've missed a deadline. The application cycle will open up again next year, and honestly, a gap year is not a horrible thing for your college career. A gap year can help you to save money for college, or to broaden your experiences through a volunteer program, an internship program, things like that. There's plenty of things you can do with a gap year, so don't feel bad if you've missed a deadline. The other thing to remember is that if you're applying to colleges, that you've got this. Submitting to a college to any college, by the way, is a big step with a lot of risk to yourself. And by risk to yourself, I mean the risk of rejection, and with the risk of rejection, the risk of just having to gather up all the information with stress and all of this stuff. It's a big step with a lot of patches of nervousness where you just have to sit there and just be like, okay, I have to wait until they either tell me yes or they tell me no. Just be patient with yourself. Remind yourself you're awesome for taking that step forward. And that even if you get a no from a college, it's not going to end your career there. You still have other options. Remember that you're awesome. Remember that you've got this. And pat yourself on the back for taking that big of a step. And with that, I do believe we're going to leave it there. If you have any questions regarding this process from somebody who has had to go through it, please feel free to ask. This week, you should be submitting your final drafts for your research essay. So be sure to get those in because I want to see the research you guys have done. From everything I'm seeing, I'm really excited by what you guys are working on, and I think everything's going to turn out great. So with that, I'll see you guys next week. Have a good rest of your week.